positive growth and development of any human settlement depends mostly on certain given elements that must have impact and contribution. The metropolitan city of Onitsha of today presents a good testimony of a traditional community that flourished, blossomed, and upgraded quickly to a 21st century modern city.
Every Igbo man wanted to settle in Onitsha. To be frank with you, not less than 70% of anybody who is who, or whose father was who, or whose grandfather was who, in the entire eastern Nigeria had started in Onitsha, either with primary or secondary school. The oldest secondary schools were in Onitsha, DMGS, CKC. So, just like people converge in Lagos, so it was for the Igbo man to converge in Onitsha.
Any person in Nigeria who do not tap from Onitsha will not grow. If you are in Owerri and you want to go to township, you must go to Onitsha before you think of township. If you are in Enugu, Enugu is the capital city of eastern Nigeria, their township is Onitsha. Any Enugu man who want to make money will come to Onitsha and make money. If you are from Abakaliki, you come to Onitsha. That's why all over the world, they have created Abakaliki town, Onitsha branch. Uke Town Union, Onitsha branch. Every town union now has Onitsha branch, because Onitsha is the town they believe in.
With an explosion in population, the indigenous people, whether you like it or not, must be inconvenienced in one way or the other. The people who came, they started business, and that led to building, yes, one of the biggest markets in Africa. But then, that market used to be the King Obi of Onitsha market. Every Onitsha woman, when a man gets married, one of the things that the wife benefits from is that he will get a stall in that market. But because of the new ways of doing things, it was no longer so.
Culturally and from core traditional point of expression, the Onitsha geographical area is regarded and known as Onitsha do Nidu. Amidst vast development akin and peculiar to modernity and civilization, Onitsha's main culture and tradition remain sacrosanct and untraded. The missionaries and the effect of the gospel, however, condemned and obliterated all extant and obnoxious practices termed the way of life of the people.
There are so many things the church came and condemned, and we started having dialogue with them, and because we agreed with them, we started sharing their views. One of them was stopping the throwing away of twins.
We are according with their traditions. It's because we missed it at the onset. When Crowder came, Akazo told him on their culture. Then Crowder bought the idea of the culture that is a good thing. He blessed that culture. So when we say that they change it, they say no. We agree with the church that we do it in this way. It is until the church come out to another policy that convince them that what they are doing is wrong. But now, they are not doing that.
When the Onitsha man wakes up in the morning and he is to do his devotion, the first thing he does is to take a whole cola up to God and ask God to please accept it as a whole so that his children can eat it in pieces. And so they were at home with the lifestyle of the people. Even though they were classified as barbarians at that time, they were classified as unbelievers, but they found out that deep inside them, they knew that their life depended on a supreme God. The only difference between the Onitsha traditional religion then and Christianity as we know it is that Christianity believed that you go to God through his son Jesus Christ. But the traditional religion, not knowing about Jesus Christ, worship the supreme God through their ancestors.
For our indigenous, what I pride myself or what I see that I admire is a balance between our tradition and the church. It's a right balance. They still maintain their strong tradition. We have an Igwe, an Obi of Onitsha, who is the custodian of our tradition. And they also imbibe the Christian faith. So clearly, the striking balance is commendable rather than anything regrets.
The impact of the coming of the early missionaries east of the Niger with Onitsha as a gateway really rubbed off in most good ways on the community. This fortune made it possible for Onitsha and her natives to become distinct and outstanding within surrounding environment and beyond. This endowment remains precious and thick both in the mind, body, soul and characteristics of hitherto Onitsha natives.
First of all, education drove away illiteracy and ignorance. People began to look at modern world. That was the reason some 60 years back, you will see that most of the judges in Igbo land are Onitsha indigenes. Most of the teachers were Onitsha. In the civil service, we have 70% of Onitsha indigenes in the civil service because they were educated.
That contact with the white people, the colonialists, with the explorationists, as we know them then, was the big exposure. And some of them, because of that exposure, were able to network with people from other countries. And that explains why so many of our people went out to study abroad. In Onitsha, there is a popular saying that it is either your mother is the mother of a lawyer, or an engineer, or a doctor. It was because of that early exposure. Secondly, that exposure encouraged Onitsha to develop. Development came to Onitsha faster than it would have come, because they opened their arms to everybody. Come in. They sold land. They leased land. They knew the importance of land in the modern setting before every other Igbo settlers.
Onitsha indigenes became the first lawyers, the first doctors, the first clergy. You must have heard about Bishop Nweje, Holy Nweje. You must have heard of Bishop Onyavo. You must have heard of Adishidike Nomona. You must have heard of Reverend Anyebunam. You can go on and on and on and on. So the benefits are that clearly they imbibed education. They were the first set of people to go for education, to become professionals. And today, you could see that even in the whole country, Onitsha as a town has the highest number of sons as far as lawyers are concerned. So that will tell you that baton is always handed from generation to generation. The same thing with doctors.
Ugunabamba Road dissects a section of the inland area of Onitsha from Savoy Hotel to Oguta Road Junction. Immanuel Anglican Church Inland Town situates along this long stretch of road at the epicenter of the core natives, the Onitsha indigenous. Immanuel Church Inland Town belonged to the initial outposts of the early missionaries who championed the Great Niger Expedition in 1857.
When Okosi accepted Christianity in Onitsha and the Anglican had a footstool, the indigenous were living in the inland town. And what they did more or less to carry the gospel to where the indigenous are living. And that, luckily, and because Onitsha is a cosmopolitan, very accommodating to foreigners and visitors, they gave this piece of land to the Anglican Church, and they built it to the glory of God.
The homestead of Chief Immanuel of Umwasele village provided Reverend John Christopher Taylor and Simon Jonas a venue for the establishment of a mission center. That was in 1864.
When the missionaries came, they were at the river bank. So the king then, Akosa, received them from his palace. That was where they had the first church, service.
The purpose of the Great Niger Mission was therefore partly fulfilled, with G.N. Anyebunam, an Onitsha native, becoming the church teacher in charge of the mission center. The story and origin of Immanuel Anglican Church Inland Town told the path of many others before or after it. The choice of its site, however, was an outcome of the native authorities' decision to give a parcel of land situated in an ungodly location, an evil forest, a cemetery, for purposes of erecting a church building or worship center. In 1884, Catechist G.N. Anyebunam built a second church in the compound of Omodi in Sieba, also in Umwasele village, Onitsha. Obi Akazue, the Onitsha monarch on the throne, exhibited immeasurable large heart of hospitality and friendliness on the arrival and the mission of Samuel Ajay Crowther in 1857. This same gesture was replicated in 1893 when Obi Anazongu extended a warm hand of fellowship to his kinsman and subject G.A. Anyebunam. Catechist Anyebunam secured a royal permission to move to the area known and referred among the natives as Bad Bush, Ajofia, accommodating a shrine to clear the dreaded evil forest and erect a church. Four notable villages of Umwasele, Iyau, Obozala, and Oboliolosi in Onitsha shared the ownership of the area in context.
Immanuel Church was initially regarded as a village church for the villages around here, the Iyawo village, the Umase village, the Oboza village, and all the rest of them. But later, when most of the Onitsha people started coming up inland from Otu, they started building, and then, population growth. Many people started being converted to Anglicanism. Even those who are not indigenous, everybody started coming here.
From the story I was told by my father, the Anglicans came to Onitsha, as we were told, and started their preaching. The first place they arrived at in the inland town was Chief Immanuel's house at Omwasele village. That's very close to my father's house. And from there, they were led to Obia Kanzwa, who received the missionary, the Anglican missionaries. And from there, they decided to give them a plot of land. They asked for a plot of land where to build their church. And this site here that we are sitting on was given to them. And the place, as I was told, was a bush.
The bad bush and the inner recesses of the shrine, however, gave way for a building that was later, on Christmas Day of December 1899, named Immanuel Church by His Lordship, the Right Reverend Togwell. A year before that great event in 1898, Catechist G.A. Anyebunam had been ordained a priest of the Anglican Church.
What has survived at Immanuel Church today started as small churches. One of them very close to the fence that is completed now, that you can see. And with time, various generations of congregation started building bigger and bigger churches until about 2005, we started this ambitious. It was a very ambitious program. We all decided that we needed a church that will outlive all of us.
Immanuel Church has God with you. God is with us. Has been with us for many years, like the years you're talking about. Our forefathers, our fathers were pillars of this church. And this building was down after the war. So our fathers rebuilt this church. And the church was such. It had the pattern of the old church, typical Anglican church of those days.
When I was very small, when I was very young, the church, called the Immanuel Church, was a small church. For it was located in the other side of it. Then later on, after the Civil War, along the line, That building got damaged during the Civil War. And there was need for people to have a place of worship. So a temporary shelter was made over there, the whole site, while we were thinking of building a new church.
The church that was Immanuel Church in 1899 was a thatched house with mud seats and pulpit.
The place, as I was told, was a bush where dead people were buried and people, all sorts of rubbish were thrown into because nobody could use the land. That was why they gave it to the church. And that was how Immanuel Church, Anglican Church, sprang up.
In 1913, the roof was changed to corrugated roofing sheets by Catechist Matthias N. Ogo under the assistance of the missionaries. The reconstruction employed the services of the notable carpenters like Aaron Ibebu, Nathaniel Ifakandu, and Jacob Chukura. A bigger church was built by Catechist Amuta to take care of the increasing number of congregants and was dedicated in 1953 by Right Reverend C.J. Patterson, assisted by Reverend Hezekiah Mweje. The first ordained priest in Immanuel Church was Reverend J.O. Buseri in 1943.
The first time that we had Reverend gentlemen heading Immanuel Church, it was being headed by catechists and so on. But the first time was about 1943, 1944. That was when we had full-fledged priests in charge of the church. And from that time, the church has continued to grow.
Immanuel Church in Town, Onitsha has witnessed a steady growth through doggedness by the people of God in both matters of spirituality and physical growth and development. In all these, the bona fide indigenes, the core Onitsha natives, have not for once been found wanting in doing that which is expected of them. They initiate, they support, they contribute, they own up projects and see same through. They take the lead in what seems to them as theirs.
And the blessing of God Almighty, the Father, the Son, and Holy Spirit, be among you and remain with you always.
My father was an addict of Immanuel Church, and he passed that baton to us. Before he passed on, he admonished us to make sure that we uplift this church in whatever way we can. And we set up a Ponye Jekwe Foundation. And the thing is that any Anglican young man who wants to be an Anglican priest, we train them up throughout the seminary up to ordination, and there has been uptakes. So we're using that platform and so many others encouraging to make sure that the younger ones are still maintain the faith, and the younger ones keep to their days of the church. So because again, you have to realize that the Orthodox churches has also been affected by Pentecostalism. Both the Orthodox churches are losing their members. So, as far as evangelism is concerned, we also have to keep pace. What are those things that we need to do to make sure that we retain the younger ones in our church?
Those who come here were convinced in their mind that this is where they will find God. And so they brought up their children in that belief. And that is why, if you go into the congregation, you will see that most of the members of the congregation have continued to worship based on the legacy left by their grandparents.
The present-day Immanuel Church, Inland Town, is a product initiated and hatched not in any haste, but with diligence and commitment.
With development and architectural changes going on in so many buildings, we see so many buildings being redesigned, new buildings being built, and all of a sudden, it seemed like our church has become too old compared with the buildings we have around us. And in Haggai, God directed us clearly, why should we live in our luxurious houses while my house are in ruins? So that more or less sealed our commitment that in as much as we build our houses for some luxurious houses, beautiful houses, we must give God a befitting worship center. And we just didn't pick any design that has been existing. We commissioned an architect to design this church.
Whatever you want to do, you may be in London, you may be in Lagos, Abuja, any other part of Nigeria. If your son is getting married, if your daughter is getting married, you are obliged to come back to Onitsha to do the traditional ceremony, even if you want to wed in London, wherever. Those your guests that will come from different parts of Nigeria, different parts of the world, will not be happy with you if they came and saw a rickety church, a rural church, in a big township, cosmopolitan area like Onitsha. And yet, the church that you pride yourself in, where you live, outside Onitsha, is a big church, a modern church. What effort have you made to ensure that it is also represented in your place? Besides that, the end of man is death. When you die as an Onitsha man, you are brought back home. That is our culture. That is our tradition. We don't bury our dead anywhere else. You are brought back. And when you are brought back, it is this same Immanuel Church that you will be brought in. The same thing will happen. So everybody knows this and owes it a duty to himself and to his generations after him to ensure that we build a big Immanuel Church that all of us will be proud of.
The faithful believed it behooves on them to answer the call of their forebears to live up to the trends of modernity. So a crucial journey began with hope and aspiration, dedication and resilience.
At a certain time, it became no longer comfortable for big enough to accommodate members. And as we start growing older, becoming more important in life, achieving successes in life, we now felt that this church we see here does no longer befit the other church. So the idea of a new church came up. It used to face this way before. When this new church was constructed, it had to face this way. So it was a process of growth and development. People feeling that we are moving from one stage to another one, from a bamboo church to a local church, simple straight line church, to an edifice that's worth the Immanuel Church. And from the history of Immanuel Church, many big people have passed through this church. My father was treasurer and president for 25 years. He died while serving the church. It was death that cut him off service. Otherwise, he became class serving them today anyway. So we have been part of the church. The Onitsha, the Osakas, the Manevos, we are all in this church. So the idea of the new church came up. This was not the original design. But people said, no, there's something that it should be outlive us, something that can stand the test of time. So this design was made, and we started the project.
When we conceived this new church, we were looking at 50 years to 100 years, and that we could see the capacity of the church. And people were saying it was too big. But when we had a synod here, the bishop had a synod in Immanuel Church, both the gallery and the ground were filled to the brim. And I asked myself, is this actually too big? When you have a big service, a big event, you discover that clearly the church. So we also planted new churches that took away members. Immanuel Church has planted plenty of churches. So the thing is, we have to make sure that whoever comes here, the priest and the missionaries that are sent here, are firepower in terms of gospel. Because that's what people hear, and the person who is there that attracts people to your church. You don't just go to the church for the sake of going to the church. So we have to make sure that the priest, we have to work with the priest to make sure that our church will grow and will continue growing.
You grow with civilization. When we looked at the old one we had, it didn't benefit us, so to say. So we started thinking, we want something that which we will be proud of. Anytime you come home or take some of your friends home, you will show them, they will be very happy. So they can talk about you and boast about your church. You can't be boasting about your church with something that is not presentable. So that one was built by our fathers. And they were for older generation. So we in recent generation decided to have our own and to have a more decent and more efficient buildings where we will be worshiping God.
Immanuel Anglican Church Inland Town, Onitsha, is not just of ordinary status. Though Onitsha is a cosmopolitan community, the natives, the Onitsha people of Anglican faith, regard the church as peculiar, seeing it as theirs.
When we saw that where we worshipped outside, are by far better than where we worship at home. Especially when we see the ceiling of a modern church of old, not even sealed. So we became conscious of that, became ashamed of the church which we call our home church. So we decided, the Onitsha family decided to commission an architect Obiang, to design this church. Thereafter, I personally handled the structures and the model. We finished it as a family and gave to Reverend Ofebu when he was there. I think it was a canon there, Ofebu. Initially, he shouted. He thought it was too big and so beautiful. But I told him, God builds his church. And then he took it up, presented to the PCC then. They accepted it. He went to the Archdeacon then. I think Archdeacon Ibelsok, who was in St. Andrews or whatever, I can't remember. You know, from there, he now took it to the bishop then. And it was approved. And we started with faith. We started with faith. And here we are today.
Most of the workers in this church were the indigenous of Onitsha. The history of this church cannot be written without mentioning names like Reverend Anyebunam of Omuasele village, who I understand translated the Bible into Igbo. The Onyejekwes of Onitsha, whose son is now the chairman of the building committee in the person of Mr. Chike Onyejekwe, and also his junior brother Joe Onyejekwe. They were very active in this church when I was a young boy in this church. Then the Osakas, I can remember David Osaka, who is the father of Barrister Ben Osaka, who is a very active member of this church, and also his brother, whose name I cannot recollect now.
The indigenous population of worshippers, Onitsha indigenous population, will not be as many as they will be when you talk about Immanuel Church. Our people are spread all over, even in the cathedral. You have Onitsha people who, as young people, started worshiping there and find it difficult to change to any other place. But when you now talk about the indigenous people, this is the church for the Anglican. Just like St. Mary's across the road in Oka Road is for the Catholics. So that is how it is. I believe that also the Anglican Diocese on the Niger has a deliberate policy to make the Onitsha people know that this is their own church, because this is where they made the headquarters of the inland town archdiocese, consisting of all the Anglican church in Onitsha. So that gives it a pride of place.
To them, it is only incumbent to retain the sanctity of the body of Christ as indigenous. They revere it, they value it with a firm resolve to always hold on to it as their first church, an indigenous place of worship, exaltation, and praise unto God.
That was the first church the Anglicans in Onitsha founded. And it was founded long before the Civil War. And it has produced so many great men in Nigeria. I'll tell you, the late Bishop Onitsha was a pastor here. He was one of those who stood firmly here when the church was about to grow. And many other priests have passed through here, so many of them. And then he had a school at a time. And most of these kids we are seeing here passed through the Immanuel Church Primary School. So it's a symbol of Anglicanism in Onitsha.
The Ibebus of Omasele village, we had one Ben Ibebu who was choir master in this church for a very long time. When we were young, he was a choir master.
Immanuel Church began as a full-fledged church. It began as a church for the indigenous. It began as a church to take care of all the villages in Onitsha. So you look at Immanuel Church, where it is situated, it is at the center of all the villages in Onitsha. All the villages in Onitsha is centered in Immanuel Church. So it is the indigenous church of Onitsha. It was after some time that they thought it wise to develop St. Stephen's at Arole.
Today, the people of God, through unwavering faith and steadfastness towards what is both their spiritual and communal heritage, set out and accomplished a magnificent edifice built to taste and adoration of all. There has been an immeasurable spirit of generosity, the togetherness and oneness in this pursuit of the church project, mainly centered on a people of determination.
When Venerable Febu, then Reverend Canon, started to make a move to build this church in 2005, it was among the indigenous only that money came. The kind of money they put up and all were done in the way that it depicts Christian giving and not making noise about it. From that day till now, They have invested over 700 million in this project.
We had a priest then who actually drove us into this gigantic project. We thought it is a task that cannot be achieved. But he said, we should go on. God does his things his own way. And we started.
All this while I've been a priest for 30 years, I have never seen such a magnanimous approach to giving.
Without looking back, though in a harsh economic realities of the time, the spirit of self-giving and support continued to flourish and prevailed as the people moved on to see the project to a logical delivery.
It's been wonderful. We have never done any launching since we started this project. And when people come in here, they see what is happening, they will go home and say, I will be part of what is happening here. And people have been bringing in money. When people come, they will say, what do you want? What is remaining? Just mentioning it. When they get back to their station, we will get alert.
You know, Onitsha has a history of civil service and early education. So it was easy for the church to grow. But those they trained came back to build the church and make it what it is today. That's why this new church we are seeing, most of the people who are contributing to this church are doing that because of the depths they owe Immanuel Church. Because Immanuel Church made them what they are today, spiritually and academically.
If I tell you the way they do this thing, you will run away. They do it in such a way that it will resemble the way Christ said you should give. If you are giving to God, let your right hand not know what your left hand is doing. This is what these people are doing. Without being noticed, they brought money into millions to make sure that Onitsha Church is the best.
To the faithful at Immanuel Church, Inland Town, Onitsha, the body of Christ is unique and peculiar to them, mainly for its spiritual relevance. It has transcended the scope of a mere church. It is a sanctuary, the place of abode for the Most High God, where the people have continued to strengthen and cement both their Eucharistic values and spirituality before God, their Creator, who is always with them.
This is the only place the Onitsha people are meeting their God, Immanuel, God with us. So for you to commune with God, you need a sanctuary to do that, not basilica. What you need is sanctuary. So Onitsha people said that they are tired of churches. They want to go a step higher by erecting this modern edifice that is called Immanuel Church Sanctuary, where you come and commune with God. That is where God is. You meet God in his sanctuary. And the only sanctuary is here. Both the structure, the everything, the outlook, the peace, a sanctuary.
The sanctuary was dedicated to God on the Easter Monday of the year of our Lord 2019 in an elevated church service presided over by the sea on the Niger.
We beseech you, where in the hearts of all who trust in you, make it your everlasting dwelling place. Let this house, built unto your glory, become a place of your presence. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Peace be to this house. And to all who enter here.
As is customary in a church dedication, all strategic units and elements making up a standard Anglican church for worship and liturgical activities were executed in given situations and circumstances.
Let us give thanks to the Lord our God.
It is right to give him thanks and praise.
We thank you, Almighty God, for the gift of water. Over it, the Holy Spirit moved in the beginning of creation. Through it, led the children of Israel out of their bondage in Egypt into the land of promise. In it, your Son, Jesus Christ, received the baptism of John. We thank you, Father, for the water of baptism.
In the name of God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit.
O Lord God Almighty, you disclose in a vision the others seated around your throne. Accept this test through Jesus Christ our Lord.
In the name of God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit.
Oh God, our Heavenly Father, bless all these musical instruments which we use to worship. Sanctify in the music for the honor and glory of your name. Grant that those who sing and those who use these instruments will become your instruments in your hearts. Through Jesus Christ our Lord.
Almighty God, in every age, you have spoken through voice of the prophets, pastors, and teachers. Purify the lives of those who read and proclaim your holy word from this pulpit.
Dedicate this pulpit in the name of God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit.
This lectern, in all its ancientness, shares history with Immanuel Church since 1899. That glorious year when Bishop Togwell named a thatched house with mud infrastructure and furniture pieces as Immanuel Anglican Church.
This church, for those who knew this church before, if they come back here, they will say this is not the very place they used to know.
I was born into this church. My parents, late parents, were members of this church. So when I was born, I was baptized in this church. That was late 40s, 1949 to be precise. So I grew up in this church, did the Sunday school, did everything. Then went for my primary school, ran school, just the church school, so to say, Reverend Anyabunam Memorial School. From there I went for my secondary school at Toba. Then to university, and I started working. But I still relate with the church. Anytime I'm home, I will come and worship here. So this is my church.
The grace of Almighty God, I'm alive today to see the dedication of this church. Many of us who attended this program are not allowed today to see the end of it. But for us who are lucky to see the beginning and not to see the end, to God be the glory. So the Immanuel Church is me, and Immanuel Church.
The Onitsha today is not the Onitsha of yesterday. So a lot of elements have come in. But I tell you that Onitsha has about 6 or 7 indigenous priests now. At least 2 of them are venerables. Which shows you in Niger Diocese, if you go to Enugu, there's a venerable there. There's a canon there. And if you go to Benin, the people are everywhere. They're dedicated. But I'll tell you one thing. Any church you go to in any cosmopolitan town in Nigeria, you will see a prominent Onitsha Anglican.
The sanctuary of God, personified in the ultra-modern architectural masterpiece that is now Immanuel Anglican Church Parish, inland town Onitsha, is a product of determination by the present generation of Onitsha natives, associates, and a cream of dedicated faithful who willingly bore the burden of the project, the cross for a crown.
When we decided to build this church, the same sons and daughters who are in this opera, contributed a lot in what you see today. Some of them took packages of the project. Some took the altar, some took the gallery, some took the tiling, some took the roofing, some took the chandeliers, some took the painting of the church. So I can tell you with pride that what you see today is a combination of all those packages of job that were done by individuals, both sons and daughters, both families and even friends of the church. But one thing I can tell you again is that they did them anonymously.
This is a church that has been built without the church having got to borrow a penny. Everything inside this church are people's donation, from foundation to the roofing to the equipment are people's donations. People felt this is our church. You could see one thing about the church, it's that you can hardly see an inscription donated by anybody. But most people say, don't mention my name, only God knows. And we felt, okay, if you mention some, let us all become anonymous. Only God knows those who donate to him.
That spirit of teamwork really played the magic of putting in place this place of worship. The people now are well off because their dream and aspiration have been synthesized and equalized in their ability to deliver on their hope.
My father was an addict of Immanuel Church, and he passed that baton to us. Before he passed on, he admonished us to make sure that we uplift this church in whatever way we can. And we set up a Ponyejekwe Foundation. And the thing is that any Anglican young man who wants to be an Anglican priest, we train them up throughout the seminary up to ordination, and there has been uptakes. So we're using that platform and so many others encouraging to make sure that the younger ones are still maintain the faith, and the younger ones keep to their days of the church. So, because again, you have to realize that the Orthodox churches has also been affected by Pentecostalism. Both the Orthodox churches are losing their members. So, as far as evangelism is concerned, we also have to keep pace. What are those things that we need to do to make sure that we retain the younger ones in our church?
I'm happy my brother is the chairman of the dedication committee, so that our efforts as infancy has come to fruition today. We are very proud of everybody in this church. The vicar, the present vicar, and the past vicars, Venerable Enwong and co, and especially of who had faith in our dream and followed it up.
Through the rigors and growth and development it went through in its days of yore, Immanuel Anglican Church in Town, Onitsha, had for long found her feet and even made tremendous contributions towards the growth of Christianity. One of the paramount ways this has been accomplished has been through traditional church planting.
You know, Immanuel Church, after a long while, they planted St. Stephen's Church. They equally planted St. Mark's Church, which is now an archdeaconry. It was a church nurtured by Immanuel Anglican Church in those days. It is from St. Mark's that St. Barnabas emanated from. So it is an offshoot of the church found by Immanuel Church. If you think of Ascension Church and those churches around there, Amazing Church, Immanuel Church at Odume, they were planted by Immanuel Church here through the help of Odu of Onitsha, Chief Mbanefo, Odu. They brought the land, planted church there that is now spreading all over that layout. Immanuel Church planted the Church of Pentecost at Osuma. It's now a church parish of its own. Our brother church, St. Stephen's, planted St. Philip's at Nkisi. These are things we are doing. If you look at Church of Divine Love, it is part of this Immanuel Church. It grew out of Immanuel Church and became a parish some years back. So if you look at the territorial delineation of Immanuel Church, you see too many churches here.
For having taken a bearing from the effort of their progenitors whose labor towards Anglicanism has not and will never be in vain, for having weathered the harsh storm of the responsibilities and harsh realities of founding days of evangelism and the gospel of Jesus Christ, these saints of triumphant are warmly remembered for their pioneering role in the breakthrough of the light of salvation in Immanuel Anglican Church in Town, Onitsha. Even as the church strongly gears towards its 1 century and 2 decade years of spiritual dominance in the Diocese of